The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Are you trying to master the game of life without success? There are secrets and strategies to living your best life. We'll share some of them with you on today's show. Take advantage of this series to become an expert at relationships. All relationships. It's time to live the life that you deserve to live. Now, here's your host, Sandra Reish.
Hi, welcome back to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. I hope you guys had a great week. Today we're tackling a really huge topic and one that's so relevant to so many of you out there, and we're very excited about it. Before I go any further, I'll tell you what it is. It's anxiety. Now, many of us, if not all of us, know someone who suffers with anxiety, and we're going to talk about today why it's so much on the rise. We've had really great response from you guys from last week's show, so thank you so much, and please feel free to call in at 1-866-472-5791 with any questions, or email us at info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Tonight, we're going to have whoever calls in or sends an email question, somebody's going to win a free DVD from anxietyvideos.com on how to overcome anxiety. So let me start by introducing my special guest today. I could not be more excited to have her here with me. She is a very dear friend, but more importantly for you guys out there, she's an incredible specialist in anxiety. She happens to work for my team at the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression. Let me tell you a little bit about this girl. I met her very randomly, and I sat down with her. She was actually looking to rent an office. Do you remember that, Georgia?
I do.
She said to me she was looking for an office. The ironic part about that is I don't know if you believe in meant to be, but I had never advertised for somebody to look for an office. I sat down with her, and within 5 minutes, I begged her to join the team. Why? Listen to this. 20 years of teaching and counseling. She has a degree in psychology and education, a master's with distinction in art therapy. Here's the part that blew me away. She's this beautiful, small, petite girl. She is a 2-time Canadian Jiu-Jitsu champion. And I said to myself, anyone who can become a jiu-jitsu champion must know a great deal about life, because there's so much discipline involved with that. She also runs 4 incredible podcasts of her own, and she is my co-director in anxietyvideos.com, a true specialist. Welcome to the show, Georgia.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandra, for having me here today. Right away when I met Sandra, she wowed me. She wowed me with how open you were, how great you are with people, and I loved the way that you are so genuine with what you say. And so I'm so happy to be here on the show. I'm so happy to be your friend and to be part of the team. So thank you.
So we take anxiety at the clinic extremely seriously. We have a clinic here in Montreal, the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression. And this is what we do, is we help people with anxiety. So we really wanted today's show to give anyone who's listening the nitty-gritty on anxiety. Why is it on the rise? What anxiety is, because it's not the same as fear. We're going to talk about that. And both Georgia and I are very big on the scientific aspect of this. We're really big on, I know when I was studying, I don't know if you felt that way, Georgia, I really felt if I'm going to be a therapist and charge money, I have to be able to prove what I say. I can't just say things. I have to give the proof of it. And the stuff we do, the research and the work we do is based on an empirically tested theory of cognitive behavioral therapy, the treatment of choice for anxiety. And I know science is very important to you as well.
It really is. This is not something, the wonderful thing is that we really do know what works for treating anxiety. Not only one of the wonderful things with being a specialist is all we deal with is treating anxiety all day, every day. And the wonderful thing about working at the center is every week we go through all of the empirical tests, what's happening, what works, what doesn't. So not only are we able to apply this with our clients, and so we can tell by seeing which techniques are most effective, but then we also deal with the research that's cutting edge in order to help our people get better faster. And so I'll ask you the first question, Sandra, which is, what is anxiety?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and I so appreciate you talking about the research because anxiety is not what most people think it is. Most people think of anxiety and fear as being the same thing. And fear is like if a lion comes at you, you're supposed to be afraid.
You should be afraid.
You should be afraid.
There's probably something wrong if you are not afraid.
Right. If you just relax there, not such a good idea.
It's not good for us.
So to get it out there, the idea of anxiety, I want people to start thinking about anxiety of fear of fear. So what does that mean? It's anticipatory. What if I see a lion, as opposed to seeing a lion? So the situation hasn't happened yet, and you're already thinking about it. And this has become very much on the increase. As a matter of fact, in North America, we know it is the number one mental health issue. Can you believe that?
Well, being a specialist in treating anxiety, I can,
Yes.
but I don't know if all of the people that are listening do. But it's so very prevalent. And I think that in our culture, we've kind of demonized anxiety as being this horrible thing. Now, having anxiety is normal and natural for us, right, Sandra?
Oh, it's incredibly adaptive, and we're going to go through how adaptive it is. I want people, if you've tuned in tonight, I want you to start by thinking about the fact that anxiety is very treatable. Mm-hmm. We're really big on the positive aspects. So you're maybe listening, maybe you know someone who's going through anxiety, and Georgia, when they come into the office, they always say, my anxiety is different, and you won't be able to help me. And the truth is that anxiety is very treatable.
Right.
However, anxiety without treatment does tend to get worse. And why is that, Georgia?
Well, the thing is that when you are frightened of something, odds are you are going to avoid that. And when you avoid something, you are more fearful from it after. You're scared of going towards, say, a dark room, a closet, an elevator. And then what happens after is when you leave that area, you feel relief. We have created a reward system, and anything that you reward will increase its behavior. So in and of itself, by avoiding something, we are making it greater, and so we are increasing the fear to that event. And that's why with some things, if you don't treat them, they could get better and or go away. But with anxiety, unfortunately, it feeds upon itself, and it's so treatable. It's not something that you have to have for the rest of your life. Now, anxiety in itself is natural to have, but you don't have to live only part of a life. You can live a full life if you treat it.
I think we really have to pick up on that point so that to make it clear. So are you saying, Georgia, and I know you are, playing with you a little bit, are you saying that if I have a panic attack tomorrow at a restaurant, that leaving the restaurant and never going back there is not a smart move?
In short answers, yes.
Okay. Can you explain to me why? I mean, I'm having a panic attack. It's making me nervous. I don't want to be here. So I'll just leave and I'll feel better. So what's the problem?
Which is that, unfortunately, is the problem, is that you're going to feel relief from going there and you're not going to want to go back to that restaurant. But then slowly, unfortunately, anxiety is like a game of Risk. It's going to grow upon itself. And so it won't even be that restaurant. It might be another crowded restaurant. And then you're going to want to avoid that situation.
So it generalizes. It spreads. It's
Yes.
like a bad sort of like, for lack of a better analogy, like a cancer that spreads throughout you.
Very well said.
I'm really happy you're mentioning this because avoidance is the friend of anxiety. So if you want to get more anxiety, avoid something.
Yes.
And Georgia said it, and she's right. It's almost counterintuitive because if something makes you nervous, you naturally want to avoid it. However, that's the worst thing you could do. And one of the things we want to talk about is what do we know to be true about anxiety and anxiety treatment? And I think you just hit upon one of the key points is that we know that avoiding what you're afraid of is sure to increase your anxiety. So what am I to do? Like, I'm nervous about something. And now I know it's anxiety. I know it's fear. I know I'm anticipating in my mind going into that restaurant is going to stress me out. So I come see you and I say, Georgia, I don't want to go to that restaurant. I don't want panic attacks. I don't like panic attacks. What am I to do?
I think that that's a beautiful response. And treating anxiety, you do also have to be careful. You want to be in between that growth period. You don't want to be feeling like you're forced and flooded and you're going to go too far, which will increase your feeling of panic and distress. You want this in manageable steps. You want your toes to be tipping in the water, not to jump into the entire pool on one step. So anxiety is your body's way of telling you what you need to do. It's actually good for us. It's our protection system. But what we're trying to do is you're trying to recalibrate your limbic system's response to what is happening. And so you can do that through gradated steps towards something, along with then dealing with the mental thoughts that kind of go with having anxiety.
So well said. And that's the science, is we know there's basic strategies that work every time. So for the client who says, my case is different,
yes,
us therapists, we smile a little bit, because anxiety is treatable no matter how weird your anxiety is. I mean, we've had some interesting cases at the clinic. We've had people, afraid of things like going out in public places. That's quite common, driving. But I remember you having a case with somebody afraid to touch their eye.
Yes.
I recently was told I need contact lenses, and I told a friend of mine, and he said to me, how could you even consider touching your eye? Because it makes him nervous. The idea that people get nervous about blood, about vomits. There's like all sorts of things that come up for them.
Yeah, so it could be needles.
Yeah.
It could be dealing with confrontation. It could be going into certain areas. It could be warm rooms. It could be crowded areas. We can have an anticipatory response of not wanting to go somewhere to almost anything.
Yeah. And therefore there's no strange anxiety.
No.
It's all makes sense. So I think that you mentioned something. We're about to go to break, but you mentioned something, we'll pick it up after the break, that's so important, which is the fact that your body's trying to get your attention. I always try to tell my clients, anxiety is your friend.
Yes.
And so you want to, instead of being so angry that you have anxiety, which is understandable because it's not pleasant, but to look at it like, why is my body trying to get my attention? And later on in the show, we're going to talk about the role of emotions in anxiety, because when you're not dealing with an emotion in your life, one of the symptoms that comes up often for people is anxiety, and you need somebody to guide you through it.
I love how you said that anxiety is your friend, because I think that we demonize anxiety, and it's something that you want to get rid of. It's something that you should be afraid of. It's something that's dangerous to you. And it's not. It's one way that your body is trying to tell you that it is not comfortable with something. And anything that, again, now you're avoiding the anxiety itself, and now you're having fear of having a panic attack, and now you're going to have even more anticipatory anxiety going into a situation that's difficult. And so you want to listen to it. You want to understand it. You want to see what's happening. And then it's almost like undoing a knot.
Yeah.
Once you figure out the way that you got into this, it's the exact same way, slowly, and wonderful if you can find someone to do that with you, to find a way to undo that knot.
And I think you mentioned earlier, and it's so important because we're here in Montreal, but many people listening aren't, it's important to find a specialist. And you did use the word before, it's like going to a generalist as opposed to a specialist when you go to the doctor. Anxiety is a very specific treatment. You really need to look for someone who's a specialist with cognitive behavioral training, scientifically based strategies that work very, very well. So,
and I have to thank you for that, for having me join the center. Because when I was a generalist, I did treat anxiety, but I didn't understand it. There's something wonderful about treating something and treating it every day. You get to know the cues, the tips, what's happening. You already have a plan when someone's come in of how to get it out, and you know what works because you've already dealt with it. And so I think that it's important that you have a comfortable relationship with, if you are choosing to do this with a therapist. And it's also wonderful if you have someone that really knows what's happening, because I don't think that I really understood anxiety as well, or even close to as well as I did when I treated that along with 100 other different things that were happening wrong in people's lives.
Amazing. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back to talk a little bit about the role of emotions and much, much more on anxiety. This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Ladies, how about a luxurious weekend while learning to empower yourself? Join Straight Talk's Sandra Reish January 29th at a gorgeous spa in Quebec for 3 days and 2 nights of empowerment, growth, and decadence. Delicious food, powerful learning, and much more. Life 2.0 The Retreat. Master how to command respect in your relationships. Learn about yourself and what is blocking you from living your best life. Meet other like-minded women and join in on the retreat that sells out year after year. Isn't it time you chose you? Call us at 514-796-4357. That's 514-796-4357. Don't miss your chance to change your life and relationships forever.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety video therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you choose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever. Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
A fresh look at today's health. Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
So we're back. We have so much to talk about, Georgia. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm here with my special guest, Georgia Dow. We were just starting to talk about the role of emotions and anxiety. I'm going to go to that. I just want to mention again, for our callers or emailers today, we are going to be giving away an anxiety video DVD. So you'll tell them a little bit about that in a few minutes. Let's talk about the fact that the emotions and anxiety. I mentioned this a bit last week on the show. How emotions are energy in the body. And when we don't deal with the energy in our body and our emotions, in particular anger, we know from research, anger works on the same system in the body as anxiety. The emotions get stuck. So often for some people, you can get sick. And for some people, you can get a symptom of anxiety, which is again, the idea that anxiety is your friend. So for me personally, when I get a little rumble in my stomach or an uncomfortable feeling, it usually means that a boundary has been crossed or someone's done me wrong or something's troubling me. I'm taking on too many projects and I'm not paying attention. Have you had that experience?
I have. I think that before I really understood, I just tried to repress all of my emotions. And I didn't want to deal with them. And then I would often get sick or I would get stressed. And I said, you know what? I'm supposed to just suck it up and kind of keep up with that. What exactly is the role that, holding down your emotions play in having anxiety? Well,
again, their energy, they don't disappear just because you push them away. So there's many people in life
What if I try really hard?
You could become a master at it, but you're going to get a symptom. And I'm telling you, anxiety is the good news symptom because you could get quite sick. The problem is the energy gets trapped in the body. And if you have to keep pushing it down, you're using a lot of energy to keep it down. And you talk to people who have been through a lot of trauma, and that's what they do, is they don't want to feel emotions.
Right.
But emotions are your guidance system. I've said that so many times. Without emotions, we cannot possibly know where we're supposed to go. I need my anger to know if I have to speak up. I need my sadness to know I have to grieve. I mean, we even see complicated grief often shows up with anxiety symptoms because people say, you've been grieving for a week or two, it's time to move on. That does not work.
Which is a beautiful thing. Your emotions are there to tell you something, and if you're not listening to them, you're not listening to you and whatever problems that you might be dealing with. And so you're going to keep on feeling these problems. And I think that what happens often is that you're in an uncomfortable situation. It's your body's alarm system saying there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And think what would happen in your house if the alarm on your house goes off and you just ignore it.
That's such a great metaphor. Amazing. Imagine if the alarm went off in your house and you ignored it. What would happen?
That would be really bad, and everyone would say that would be a horrible thing. I would never do that.
Right.
Yet we do that with our own emotions in ourselves. We try to ignore them in hopes that it will go away.
Yeah. Well, I think that's that's so beautifully said, and it's worthy of repetition, is if the alarm in your house is telling you there's something wrong, you need to take care of it. So if your body's giving you
the bell, I'm just going to pull out the alarm.
Right.
Right?
Right. Instead of looking at what the cause is.
Right. Because I think that often we're scared. We're scared.
We are very scared, and we're scared to find out the truth. But the truth really, like, it's cliched, but the truth does set you free. So I need to know if I'm upset about things. I need to know if I've taken on too many projects. I need to know if I'm mad at someone. And then I have the option to speak to them. You're smiling, Georgia.
I'm smiling because I think that I did feel that way. I think that a lot of my time growing up, I didn't really want to look at my weaknesses, I think that even saying the word weaknesses and vulnerabilities was something horrible for me, and I didn't want to go there. I just wanted to go to the parts of me that made me feel comfortable. But that was a huge weakness, because if I don't see these issues, then how am I ever going to deal with them? And so it's almost like walking through life with blinders on, and I'm going to hit a wall. I just won't know before I hit it. So I love the way that you said that.
And I love what you're saying, because you've also said to me that even in terms, like, it's not really anxiety talk per se, but I can't resist, is you've also said that vulnerabilities, and we talk about this also often, is vulnerabilities is how we connect with other people.
Yes.
I've heard you say that nobody wants to hang out with Martha Stewart.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? What have you got against Martha Stewart? Maybe
nothing.
She's listening. She's wonderful.
She's fabulous. She's fabulous, but she's almost too good to be true. And would you ever invite Martha Stewart over to have dinner at your house? It's too much, and I think that I would,
but I'd be anxious.
Right,
I'd be
really
anxious that my
nervous.
cutlery doesn't look right. You know what I mean?
I would be too stressed out to deal with it. I think that I used to go around the world with a mask on, trying to be too perfect, too good. And I thought that two things. I believe that, one, that people would judge me if they knew truly who I was. If they saw behind the mask, they wouldn't like who I was. And so I tried to be too perfect, but then I ended up being exceptionally fake, and I wasn't real. And the coolest part was that the more real I was, I realized that people felt comfortable. You're like me. And I have often people come up to me at the clinic, and clients that would say, you know what, Georgia, I love the fact that you're like us. You're one of us. And of course I am. Yeah. I've been through these issues. And I think that that's one of the things that most impressed me about you, was that you said that, why you're such a good therapist is because you've really lived your life. You've been through your things. You've been through hardships.
Yes.
And so you know the way.
Yeah. I think that, you're bringing up such interesting points. I think that that's the danger of therapy. If I could make a comment about therapists, is sometimes we're led to believe through our education to sort of present to our clients that we have the answers, you're the ones with the problems. And the way I run the clinic, and that's what you liked, is that we're just humans with our own struggles. And I think working with a therapist that comes across like they've never had a struggle, I think it's disingenuous. I personally would not be able to relate to them. And definitely, it says in my bio, I turned my lemons into lemonade. I had some difficulties in my life, so I saw what I could do with them. And I think most good therapists have done that. And I think if you're solid in your skin, you're not uncomfortable to share that. And when I share a vulnerability with a client, and I know when you do, it just makes them that much more comfortable with you.
I think it's really interesting, because when I was taught to be very opaque. And so I would never show any emotions, never show any feelings. So even if someone was telling me a hardship, a horrible story, I was supposed to keep this stoic, fake, unrealistic face. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I would never want to go to someone that I'm sharing my heart, my soul to someone, and they're acting like it does not even affect them. And I loved that about you, that you were real. I was like, I could go to her. And I think that I would worry about, my stuff would be judged, or that I wouldn't be good enough if I went to someone and I'm unleashing my heart to someone, and they're kind of just looking at me as though my horrible story doesn't affect them. And so I loved how real you were about that, and honest.
We're going to move on this anxiety, but I do want to add to that, because it's such a sidebar, but such an important sidebar about being vulnerable and real, because I think that's an immunizer against anxiety too, because if you own your stuff, it's a lot easier.
Oh, I love that.
And you, to me, are such a superstar. And we recently had a discussion, and I was misinterpreting something you said, and you actually, because I see you as such an incredible tower of strength. She's a jiu-jitsu champion, people. Okay. And you showed me a vulnerability, and you said, well, that's what was going on for me. And I was just like, oh my God, Georgia, it never even occurred to me. So why are we talking about this? Not everyone wants to hear our own dance, but why is it relevant to people listening? is because it is only through vulnerabilities that you can really understand someone else. And I want you to know that the field of psychology itself, for many years, discouraged emotions. And this is why we're going to talk about why anxiety in kids is on the rise soon. And this is a big factor because we used to believe that emotions were weakness and emotions are strength. So we have to re-educate so many people about that because, men come in particular, they feel like the Marlboro man, the silent type, the stoic man, that's who you're supposed to be as a man. And that just does not work. And we had it wrong. We need our emotions. Emotions are a sign of your personal strength.
I absolutely agree. So beautifully said. I think that we don't talk enough about all of the things that we go through. And so if you're having a problem, someone's upset at you and you can I remember once we were doing a PowerPoint presentation. I wasn't handing in the PowerPoint presentation and you're like, what's up with this, Georgia? And I had to really look into myself as why am I avoiding dealing with this? And I went, I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid that, and which hurt, by the way, even just saying it out loud to no one. I went, I don't like that because I'm very hard on myself. I'm very type A, very wanting it to be perfect. And right away when I said that, I felt set free. That, oh my goodness, this is my truth. And instead of being judged, you were wonderful. Say, I can fully understand that. And I get it now. And so let's work on it together. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah. It's okay.
So I think these vulnerabilities are so important. And I love what you were saying about even letting me know about yours. But what I was starting to say is that psychology itself didn't realize how emotions were strength till very recently. So this is why the kids are still often brought up, and many of our generation were brought up, that emotions were weakness. So we have to relearn that emotions are a sign of strength. So that's something for people to think about. I want to move on to something very important, which is that there are a lot of people who avoid treatment. So you and I got together one day in the office and we said, we got to do something for these people. And anxietyvideos.com was born. So I'm just, wondering if you can tell us why we did this. I know, but,
Yes, I think that for a lot of people, the thought of going to see someone still carries a stigma. And so you worry about maybe other people finding out. You worry about having to share openly your vulnerabilities and how will someone react to that, which can be really difficult. Plus, there's the cost involved, the time involved.
With therapy.
It becomes really hard to go and find a good person as well. You might find someone and they're not your cup of tea, you don't feel comfortable, and then you don't want to have to go through that process again. So we thought of, for people that would like to get help and do it in the privacy of their own home at their own time, what a wonderful thing to have these tapes that you could have to be able to deal with. Plus, you could also re-watch them. So a lot of my clients still get the DVDs because they can go back over a certain issue, a certain thought, and listen to it again.
Well, I want to hear more about those DVDs and what's on them, but we're going to have to take a break. This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com. Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety video therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you choose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Your life, your health, your network. This is Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reich.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. I am so having fun with my special, brilliant guest, Georgia Dow. Georgia, you were talking about these videos and this idea of getting them out to people so that they could work on their anxiety in the comfort of their homes. So what's on the videos?
Well, we decided that it would be a lot of fun to go through the videos as if they were each a session. So you could treat your anxiety through session one of what you and I would both deal with if it was the first time that we ever met you. And then we also give homework on what should you be working on that we would give in a first session of treatment.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that means that there's a session 2, a session 3, and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And there's a specialty series, I understand.
Right, because there's certain things. So we have a certain treatment plan that we will go through no matter what you are dealing with. If you're dealing with OCD, if you're dealing with a phobia, if you're dealing with generalized anxiety, if you're dealing with panic attacks, there's a certain template that we deal with. But at certain points, you need to have that offshoot where you would go off to, well, if you're really having trouble sleeping, we need to deal with that first before we're going to deal with the other issues with anxiety for a really great reason, which you always say is that if we're not dealing with the foundations of the reasons that have caused the anxiety of how to help them, then you can't go on to step 2. It's almost like saying you need to learn to walk before you run. And so we end up with these specialty series videos that you can deal with and go into depth if you're having insomnia or other issues that we have.
That's amazing. So somebody's going to win one today, right?
One lucky person that either sent in an email or that's going to be calling in is going to win one of the videos.
Well, you know what? We have a caller on the line right now. Let's see what they have to say. This is Tony from Montreal. Hi, Tony. You're on Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. Hi. Hi, Tony. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello? Tony, can you hear us? We can't hear Tony. Tony?
Hello?
Hi, Tony.
Yes,
hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for taking my call, Sandra, in Georgia.
Oh, we're happy to have it.
Great topic. I am always worrying about things. I constantly worrying about whatever it would be, and even if my life is going well, I feel a little bit nervous about something. I feel like I always should be nervous about something. I'm just wondering if you have any strategies for me.
That's a wonderful question.
It's such a common problem for people. I mean, we spend our lives wondering if things can go wrong. And let's be honest, things can go wrong. I would imagine those worry thoughts start with what if? Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Is that about right?
That's absolutely true.
Okay. So the strategy we like to use with what if is we turn our what ifs into so what if. Now, that might sound flip, but other than dying, most what ifs are solvable. I mean, let's face it. What if I have a car accident? Not great, but unless I die, I can get through this. What if the kids don't get a good mark in school? Not great, but there's things we can do. So using what if into so what if tends to calm down the nervous system. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Georgia, thoughts?
I think that also we spend all this time worrying about something that could happen, that we're not enjoying the fact that it has not as of happened yet. And when I was younger, I often worried about my father passing away. What would happen if my father died? And I would cry at night when he would leave because it could happen. There's always that grain of truth that, but he could pass away when he left me. And at some point, I thought to myself, I'm mourning his death before he has died. And so I'm wasting all this precious time of being healthy, of dealing with things, mourning what could happen. And I said to myself, you know what? When that day arises, when something could happen, then that's the time
to deal with it.
But until then, I should enjoy that it hasn't happened as of yet.
So 2 great strategies. Turn your what ifs into so what if and come back to the moment. And I'll add one more in, which is you have to ask yourself the statistical probability of the thing you're afraid of. How lightly is it going to happen? So you go on a plane, people are nervous, it could crash. Look at statistical probability. What's the chance it's going to crash? So I don't know if those are helpful to you, Tony?
Those are really helpful. Thank you very much. It's a really great information.
Thank you so much for your call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So we're getting a whole bunch of questions now on anxiety. I guess we stirred up some dialogue. I have an email from John in Westmount, and he's asking a question that I really think is up your alley, Georgia. Georgia deals a lot with children, and he's wondering why anxiety is increasing so much in kids these days. Why is that, Georgia? Our clinic, when I opened the clinic, it was an adult clinic, and now we're 49% children. What happens?
So I think that what happens a lot with children and anxiety is that, one, there's many more activities that we want our children to get involved in. And so there's a lot on their plate. And at times we can not give them much time to relax. We also deal a lot with the fact that we're doing more and more things for our children. And how do we learn that we can cope? How do we learn that it's going to be okay to make a mistake if we're hovering over them, making sure that they don't fall down? We learn that we are resilient by falling down and being able to pick up the pieces.
And isn't resiliency the most important gift we can give our kids?
Not only is it the most important gift, it's also one of the greatest things to resiliency is about learning that you fall down, you can pick up the pieces, and it also leads to greater life success because you learn that if you fall down, you're not going to break. And I end up treating a lot of adults that are so worried about failure. I was one of them, so worried about failing that I wouldn't try. And that's a huge sadness. And now we're all trying to, be better than and deal higher and do more. And that can be something that's self-defeating because my father would often tell me, well, if you're not going to do that right, don't do it at all. And so I ended up having this procrastinating perfectionism. I'd wait because I would avoid, but I really wanted it to be great at the same time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that doesn't work out really well.
Yeah, well, we're being tested with today with our our little connection problems. So
Yes.
I think we're handling it pretty well. I understand we have another caller. So Bob is on the phone from Montreal. Hi, Bob.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I wanted to ask you about technology and anxiety because as much as people keep saying these are labor-saving devices, they just keep not working, or they keep making you available, or you have someone that knows you sent something and didn't get back to them quickly.
Yeah.
It's very stressful.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Georgia, you're a specialist in technology and anxiety. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I do a technology podcast.
You do. So you would be the person.
And it's kind of interesting because we use technology in hopes that it will make our lives better and that we can be more relaxed. But now we have these machines that beep, buzz, call us, and there's very little shutdown time. I bet everyone that's listening right now is less than 6 feet from their cell phone.
Yeah, well, I have to say, we have 2 computers and 2 cell phones near us right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're
and things are still going wrong.
And they're still going wrong. And you have that's beeping and buzzing. And I think that also you end up with this companionship relationship with your phone in that you use this to soothe yourself. So I am one of the people that will use my technology to help myself go to sleep, which is completely counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't actually help us go to sleep. It's constantly feeding us information. And so I'm not able to calm down. I'm not able to slow myself down so that I can be relaxed and able to go to sleep.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Bob, such a great question because, again, technology also really stimulates our brain neurons and gets them going. And this is one of the problems with kids we see all the time is that they're being stimulated so much. And then when they go off the technology, it's very hard for them to relax. Is that a bit what you're talking about, Bob?
It's just constant. My sister sends me these stickers, and it beeps first thing in the morning, and then you're checking to see for mail at night before you go to sleep, and it doesn't end.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes you'll feel like that things are happening. If you turn yourself off of technology, you also end up with this feeling of a withdrawal.
Yes.
Because the world is happening. There's all these cool things that are happening.
There's the fear of missing out syndrome.
And so, yes, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to miss out. So you want to be part of it. But now you're part of the cycle of having to be part of the rat race.
Yeah.
And disconnecting is also really important. Plus, the phones are also sending us all technology, computers, the television also, it's going through this flickering effect. And we're constantly feeding our brain not being able to soothe ourselves.
Does that help?
That's tremendously helpful. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for your question, Bob. So, Georgia, the time is going ridiculously fast. You clearly have to come back because we have not covered the food, sleep, exercise.
That's
I definitely
true.
want to go into that. And I think there's a lot to talk about in terms of children. But before we run out of time, I'd like to know, I'm sure people would like to know where they can find you, first of all. What are you up to these days?
So one is I work at the NCAD, so you could, of course, find me there. And our website,
It's helpforanxietydepression.com, the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression.
and also you can check us out at anxiety-videos.com website. You can send an email if you have any questions to that. And if you're looking about dealing with treatment and you would like to do this at home, you can also check it out there. And I work for imore.com, which is a technology website and a plethora of different podcasts. And of course, on Twitter, I'm at Georgia_Dow. Now, Sandra, you're always up to amazing things and always up to, we talk about type A personalities, You're always up to many different things.
Well, it's interesting you said that because we never got to that. But who is most prone to anxiety, by the way? Type A personalities. And yet, don't you want your brain surgeon to be a type A personality?
Type A, the wonderful thing about type A is that you are the mover and shaker of the world.
Yes.
But the other edge of the sword is you destroy yourself.
Yes.
Because you will do everything no matter what.
So we're both type A's, and we both, even as therapists, have to always watch our own self-caring techniques. And when Georgia comes back, we're going to teach some self-care techniques. There's a lot to learn on that. Okay, so actually, very exciting. This weekend, I'm at a stress management and health solutions fair and symposium. It's a full-day event. I'm going to be speaking on overcoming personal obstacles and deploying your fullest personal expression, which basically means how to live your best life in spite of obstacles.
Who doesn't want to do that?
Exactly. It's so important. There's still tickets available. It's at www.wildbeing.com. Or if you forget that, just go on the Facebook page, Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. And it's a very reasonable price. And I'm not the only speaker. There's many amazing speakers. And I'm gearing up for January's Empowered Women's Women Retreat, which is a 3-day, 2-night, you know all about this, where I take women to really work on their journey in a beautiful, decadent spa with organic food. I love that combo. It's our 10th retreat. Can you believe that?
I can't believe it. I've had so many of my people go down, and I have so much fun when I hear about all the wonderful things that people are learning and how that's really changing their lives.
Okay, so I really, really appreciate that, and actually that you know that the people are coming there and that they get that. I guess part of it is what we're talking about, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that, which is the reason I do the retreats, and it's a sidebar, forget the retreats for a moment, is that I found exactly what we're talking about, is teaching people to live your best life, or heavy stuff like that, is really good when you do some work with the mind and body, because it's a lot to take in. You know, even in therapy, clients sometimes want to stay for hours and hours, and we don't let them. Mm-hmm. It's a lot to take in. So we really decided to do retreats to help people to have some learning time and some downtime. And by the way, to your technology question, and to Bob out there at the retreats, no cell phones are allowed. So people go through withdrawal first. By the end of the weekend, they're glowing. It's just incredible. It really speaks to the fact that we all need a technology break from time to time.
And I think that a lot of people will spend time on doing things for others, of researching their car. And we really need to think about taking time for ourselves. What's more important than learning about yourself and dealing with your own journey, so that every step in your life will be for you, for the right reasons. And once you really get to know yourself, you do feel empowered.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, we have a couple of minutes left, and, we'll just tease it out there a little bit. We ran out of time, but, what are the basic things that people can take away from this show? What's the first thing that people need to do to make their lives better, especially if they have anxiety? At the clinic, I'm big on saying that until they do these 3 things, we are ripping off our clients. We have to teach them these 3 basic things. Now, we won't have time to go into them, but what are they?
So the first 3 things are really simple because you can all do them at home. And so the first one is food. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you are feeding your body. It's really important. What you put into your body is what you're going to get out of it. What's the second one, Sandra?
The second one is exercise. Exercise has a profound effect on your body. You release adrenaline. Adrenaline is a key factor in anxiety. If you have anxiety and you're not moving your body, it's the first thing you want to do. It's good for all of us. We don't always feel like doing it. They have shown in study after study, it often has the same effect as an antidepressant medication, which is the medication of choice for anxiety.
Yes.
Very important.
And you don't have to do a lot of it. And everyone feels they don't want to do it beforehand, but you always feel better after you're done.
And last but not least,
sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is so important, and I think that it has been much maligned, that sleep was for the lazy.
Not at all.
That sleep is a waste of time, and unfortunately, it's usually the first thing that we short when we're busy or stressed, and we don't miss out on that sleep. And sleep will make you feel calm, relaxed, and also you will eat less, and you will feel sharper throughout the day if you're getting your sleep.
Awesome. So, Georgia, I would like to know if you'd come back and talk about sleep at a later date. Would that work for you?
I would love to. I would love to.
I'm putting her on the spot.
No, it would be my pleasure.
Okay, so let me tell everybody what's coming up, and we also have to give away our prize, which is next week, as it's American Thanksgiving. There won't be a live show, but we will rebroadcast a show. So I'll let you know on the website about that. And in 2 weeks, my special guest is Celine Feld, a top psychologist, a parenting specialist, who will be discussing with me parenting do's and don'ts, mommy guilt, and much, much more. I mean, Georgia, you know her. She's amazing.
She's
you will
absolutely fabulous, dynamic. It's going to be a great show.
So you don't want to miss that. Please call in. Please email your questions in the meanwhile. And Georgia, before we run out of time, what about our winner tonight? We had 2 amazing calls. We had an email. Who's the winner?
The winner is Tony. So we'll be sending out your DVD that will go through session 1 on how to treat anxiety so that you can live a better life.
Well, congratulations, Tony. I want to say an incredible special thanks to the amazing, brilliant Georgia Dow, top psychotherapist, incredible anxiety specialist, and I want to continue this discussion with you. This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Keep your eyes on the stars. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Now, go live your best life.
Thanks again for listening to the preceding program, brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the preceding program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America